How'd you like to get Ben Burns, Jazz Ray, and Bryan Power for the next 3 days for the price of one? For 2 decades, Covers.com ranked among the biggest pick-selling websites on the internet. Last July, they stopped selling picks, and at that time, their 3 most popular handicappers were Ben Burns, Bryan Power, and Jazz Ray. With WagerTalk being the industry leader, it was only natural for those 3 esteemed handicappers to go exclusive with us. They all bring extremely impressive resumes to the table. While they're here because of their long-term excellence, all 3 have turned plenty of heads since their arrival. Jazz ranked among the best handicappers on the entire site in 2022. Bryan is our #1 handicapper in March, and Ben quickly established himself as this season's #1 big game college hoops handicapper. For the first time ever, you can get all the picks from Ben, Bryan, and Jazz for the price of only one of them. This amazing offer won't last, as you can get 3 days of picks regularly priced at $59 each, which is $177 for all 3, including any 5% best bets normally priced at $35 for only $655 per handicapper. That's right, $59 for all 3 cappers for all 3 days. Take advantage today.
Welcome everybody to Wager Talk Today. I am Lawrence Presman. That man decked out and looking good is Teddy Covers. You're watching the best daily all sports betting show on the planet. Anyway, Teddy, it's Friday. We got a ton to talk about. Who's on the show and what are we discussing?
Ralph Michaels is going to lead us off today. He's going to talk, well, what does Ralph do when he talks? He's bringing a chart. We're going to talk about NBA teams that are down by 5 in the first quarter or down by 10 in the first half and what they do for the rest of the game, some NBA in-game strategy. He's also going to break down Milwaukee and Utah with the first half betting recommendation in that ball game in the NBA. And, of course, we couldn't let Ralph go without at least one Sweet 16 breakdown. He's going to talk San Diego State and Alabama for tonight. Bryan Power is going to join us next. He's going to break down the Pacers and the Celtics in the NBA, as well as Miami and Houston in Sweet 16 action. My big game breakdown, we're going to talk about the Sacramento Kings and the Phoenix Suns. Then Andy Lang to close out the show. He's got an MMA parlay he wants to talk about. Holman Santos, Dicheva, and Hermanson. He's going to talk about those 2 fights, as well as a golf play for round 3 of the match play tournament. We'll talk John Rahm and Billy Horschel and an NBA prop as well. If we get 100 likes, Lawrence will break down some NHL for us with his presidential address. When all said and done, your Sports Central for Gamblers starts right
now. We need music for the end of that one, man. That pumped me up. Teddy, I won my 5% play last night. It was on FAU. They want it going away. It was a good game, fun game. I had UCLA last night as my second college basketball game. I know you want to talk about that a little later. What an ending, but I did have a winning night for my clients, and I'm right back at it, dude. I got a big play again today. It's a 4% play. That doesn't sound big. This is only my second one in 2 months. And I got 3 college hoops plays going for the madness. What about you, buddy?
I've got a single selection available in the NBA. And what?
I called you buddy.
Yeah.
I don't know what just happened. I'm sorry. Anyway, dude, go ahead.
Brah. All right, brah.
What's up, brah?
Yeah. I've got a single best bet available in the NBA and a single best bet available in college hoops. You can get those plays right now over at WagerTalk or SportsMemo.com.
So get in the gondola yesterday real quick. And we're going up, and these 2 people next to us start talking, and they're Scottish. So I literally turned to them, and I'm like, excuse me, sir, ma'am, excuse me. If you could change your fate, would ya? And they thought I was nuts. My friend had to apologize for me. Ralph Michaels joining us, everyone. Ralph! How are you, brother?
Guys, always a blast. I get so excited listening to Prez opening the shows on Fridays. It makes my day.
Ralph, that's $100 I'm sending to you. It's actually the $100 Brian Power gave me to be on the show, so it's okay. How you
All
been,
good.
man? Nice to have you with us.
Oh, it's
Oh,
exciting. College basketball winding down. Teddy and I were just talking. I wasn't even aware that the NIT was in the Orleans Arena in Las Vegas. So we have an event to go to coming up this week. So exciting times.
excellent. Excellent. Enjoy. Let's get straight to it. Tons of info. You've got a chart for us. In the NBA, I'll just shut up and listen and learn.
There's not much we're going to learn off this chart, Prez, but you asked a couple weeks ago talking about NBA in-game betting, and I'm going to post this on Twitter so you guys can see. But basically, the left-hand side of the chart are teams down by 5 in the first quarter, and then favorites that are down by 5 in the first quarter. The brown side or to the right are teams down by 10 at the first half. And then the right-hand side of the chart is down by 10 and a half, and you're a favorite in that game. But real simple, if you are down by 5 after the first quarter, there are only 3 teams that have come back to have winning straight up records: the Milwaukee Bucks, the Memphis Grizzlies, and the 76ers. The 76ers have been down 17 times by 5 after the first quarter. They've actually won 11 of those games. And if you look down by 10 and a half on the right hand side, only the Nets at 3-3 and the Milwaukee Bucks at 5-3 have a 500 record or better after trailing by 10 at the half. So just some information to go into as you look for teams that you might want to play in that situation. But on the very bottom of the chart, you only win 27.8% of the time when you're down by 5 after the first quarter. If you're the
Well, looks like we lost him.
you
Ralph,
lost.
what's wrong?
There he
There
is.
he
He's back. He's back. We will
Um,
never lose, Ralph Michaels.
on the very bottom of the chart, if you're down by 5 after the first quarter, you win the game straight 27.8% of the time. If you are the favorite and you're down by 5 in the first quarter, you win the game 43% of the time. But if you're down by 10 and a half, you only win 14.3%. But if you're the favorite and down by 10 and a half, you win 27%. So a ton of information. I will put it on Twitter at CalSportsLV, and you guys can do a deeper dive yourself.
So,
There
Ralph,
you go.
unfortunately, I can't see the numbers. There's a lot on that chart, and it's not showing up particularly well on my screen. So I look forward to downloading it from the Twitter and taking a real look at it. But conceptually, what are we saying here? We're saying that teams are down by 5 after 1. They're not really a great bet to come back and win the game. Or teams down 10, even favorites down 10 at halftime, not necessarily a great bet to come back and win the game. Is that our basic takeaway here?
Yeah, not at all. So, Prez was asking about the live betting situations, and this is pretty much the divide I had. If you get down by 5 or more after the first quarter, it's not a good bet to be chasing those teams. If you're down by 10 or more at halftime, it's not a good bet to chase those teams. So, under that threshold is where you might want to start looking if you want to pick your spots to do some live betting.
Well, Michael's joining us, everyone. You can find him at WagerTalk.com, exclusive handicapper to our site and company, and really one of the best dudes around. Ralph, NBA, let's stay there. Milwaukee's playing Utah tonight. You have a first half bet for us. What might it be?
This is an actual client release. And I mean,
Nice.
this is the best away favorite in the NBA against the best home dog in the NBA. So why am I fading Utah? I'll tell you what, guys, if you're missing your number 1 score, number 2 score, number 3 score, that's the time to fade a team. American is likely out. Clarkson is likely out. Sexton is likely out. And they're missing Rudy Gay as well. I went through and broke a system out. When a team has a win percentage of 65% or higher, and they're an away favorite of 5.5 or more, and they've scored over 105 points in 3 games. So the offense is in sync. You're a winning team. You're obviously a big road favorite. That is cashed 60% of the time. And when you look at the Bucks as an away favorite, They are a perfect 11-0-1 against the spread as an away favorite since January the 11th, and they're outscoring foes in the first half 62.5 to 53.6. And if you say, well, Utah got embarrassed by 20 plus points when they faced Milwaukee the last time, again, if you're an underdog, it's not revenge if you get blown out. But I still went to the database to look at that situation. Home dogs that lost their last meeting against the foe they're playing by 22 or more points have only covered 42.8% of the time. So you are a home dog for a reason after a massive loss against the foe.
So do you worry at all? I mean, I guess there's two things that might concern me here for the Milwaukee side. And it's a side I'd rather have the Bucks minus first half than the Jazz plus first half. I'll leave it at that. But I do worry about Milwaukee's injury situation. They're nowhere near 100% right now. They're not going to have Middleton tonight. They're not going to have Dragic. They're not going to have Crowder. So they're missing some key pieces as well. But the bigger issue might be that Utah just got run off their home floor by Portland in their last game. They really played poorly, pretty much start to finish. They got called out by the coach a little bit after the ball game, saying we weren't ready to play. And in those situations, at least I tend to look for a team to come out and play a little bit better out of the gate. Does that concern you here for the Jazz? Or is this just, look, the Bucks continue to cover in this role, and this is a role to back Milwaukee in and just keep doing it because it wins?
Yeah, again, you're talking situations when you don't have your leaders on the court. A coach could say whatever he wants. So to me, it's not a situation where, I'm almost happier when there's player-only meetings and they call them out. A coach is obviously going to come out. But you look at Utah, the last 5 games shooting. They topped 52% against Portland, but 44%, 48%, 43%, 47%. The offense has just not been there for them. And I think Giannis in the middle will be able to exploit, as he's done against most foes this year.
Well, Michael's joining us. Well, before our next game, we have a viewer named Los Pablo. A few months ago, he asked if he could give out a best bet, and I gave it out. He picked, I cannot remember the name of the team, but it was minus 14 in college basketball, and it was an outright loser. So today he asked if he could give out a pick again, and I'm like, weren't you the guy who gave out the minus 14 that was an outright loser? He said yes. And then it occurred to me that I've given out minus 14 picks that were outright losers. So have you, and so has Teddy. So we gave Los another chance. He is taking Alabama under. Now, Ralph, the reason I can mention this is he writes that the under is 7-1-1 in the Crimson Tide's last 9 games, following a straight-up win of more than 20 points. Ralph, what I want to know is, Brian, was that you breathing in my ear like that? Bryan Power, no breathing until it's your turn. Ralph, do you like angles and systems like that, 7-1-1 for the Crimson Tide to the under in the last 9 after a straight-up win of more than 20 points? Does that carry weight for you?
Again, it's a small sample size and you're picking out situations. Yes. And yeah, they beat Maryland by 22, but what happens if they win by 19 or 18? So I like more as a favorite. I would even consider using a team that covers as a favorite because you're playing up to your expectations. So again, that's semi cherry picking. And the one thing I would say is this: I am never going to base a play just on one trend or angle. If he likes it because, San Diego State is number 263 in tempo, if he likes it because you have 2 top 10 defenses and the trend makes it a little stronger, that's one thing. But to say I'm going to give out a play because of a trend, never, ever do that. And by the way, Prez, in college basketball, when a team is exactly a 14-point favorite, they're 68-5. So they do win the game outright 93.2% of the time.
Oh, there you go, Los. You were able to pull a 7%er out of your focus. Well, Michaels, let's stay with San Diego State and Alabama. You got a pick on this game. What might it be?
Well, again, here we're talking strength of schedule. The SEC, Alabama, top 10 schedule. San Diego State played a top 50 schedule because they had a very difficult non-conference slate early. They played Arizona, they played Arkansas, they played St. Mary's, Stanford, BYU, middle of the road teams there. But I look at this, and with San Diego State, you're going to have a slow-paced team. You have an experienced team. This team had all 5 starters start at least 32 games this year. So you have great continuity. You have a fast-paced team in Alabama against the slow-paced team. And I think San Diego State is actually the more physical team. You look at what Alabama does against top defenses, they average it in the high 60s despite that pace. And what does Alabama do? They come down, they throw up threes. They're a top 30 team as far as their points that come from 3-point percent shooting. San Diego State, number 4 in the country, allowing under 29% from 3-point defense. And those guys can stretch the court and they play legitimate 3-point defense. So the strength of schedule is going to be the concern against who San Diego State has faced. But Alabama has proven to me that they might get to 70. So can San Diego State get in the 60s? Yes, their offense is a bit of a concern, but I think they do, and I think they cover this game.
San Diego State plus the points from Ralph Michaels. And Ralph, does the side correlate at all with the total here? If I'm either coach, all I'm trying to do is push pace in this. It doesn't matter. San Diego State never pushes pace. If I'm up against Alabama's half-court defense, I'm going to try to push pace every which way that I can. And vice versa. I think Alabama's going to try to push while I lean under and agree with our viewers' assessment that if I had to play the total, I would look under here. I worry about both teams trying to push pace. I don't know if that favors San Diego State at all.
Well, Teddy, the interesting thing is this. You look at Ken Palm's tempo ratings, and Alabama is number 5. But when you look at the offensive and defensive breakdown, when they have the ball, they're the 6th fastest team. They come down and shoot the ball in the first 15 seconds. But teams struggle bringing up the ball against Alabama. Teams are only number 225. And you look at San Diego State. Yes, Alabama wants to push the pace, but San Diego State is number 346 out of the 363 teams. That means the teams that are bringing up the ball against San Diego State take the 16th slowest of all the teams in college basketball. So for that, I lean under. And in March Madness, if I have the under, I do prefer going under the first half so you don't get in that fouling situation.
Yeah.
Alabama, a middle-of-the-road free throw team. San Diego State in the top third of the country, but neither is great. I do, if you are a trends and angles guy, I do want to mention that my son did a nice 2-page PDF with 18 Sweet 16 situations. I do want to mention one that applies here. Teams in the Sweet 16 that have at least 3 straight wins and are now a dog since 2013 have gone 16-2-1, and they've gone 8-9 straight up. Well, guess what? Now they've gone 10-9 straight up. It applied to Florida Atlantic and Gonzaga last night, both winners. It applies to San Diego State and Princeton today. But the guide's a great resource. There's still some information available. Head to Sports Memo, and you can go to wt.sm.buzz/JMS and download that 2-page guide for free.
Well, Michaels, everybody. What do you got to promote?
Well, I gave out 2 of my plays. Those are both actual client releases. So I do have 5 plays available, 3 March Madness, 1 NHL, and the NBA. You already got one of the NBA and one of the college hoops. So enjoy. Have a great weekend. Bryan Power, hello. Go Cavs. Go Indians. And yes, it's the Indians. It's not the Guardians. I'm looking forward to watching Bryan next.
There you go, Ralph Michaels. Teddy, Roger Long, who is like legit in the chat room every single day, writes, giving airtime to newbies, 50-year vet here, just saying. Roger, firstly, thank you for your service. Secondly, we've thanked you before. Thirdly, ask to give a bet. And if I like it, it leads to conversation, I'll read it on air. We love you, Raj. We love you. Teddy, what did you learn in the wonderful world of sports betting?
So There were a handful of truly great games for the fans last night. Michigan State, Kansas State, a thriller. Gonzaga, UCLA, a thriller. Florida Atlantic, Tennessee, that was a wildly entertaining game. As a bettor, I don't want those games. I hate them. Hate's too strong. But, 2 games were priced near pick'em and turned out to be absolutely pick'em ball games. Thrilling games, thrilling finishes. I like right sides. My favorite single play in the NFL is the kneel down. My favorite single play in the NBA, it's the dribble out with 2 possessions still to go. That means, there's nothing going on in the last minute. UConn was the right side last night. Kudos to anyone that had them. I wish I would have. As a bettor, I'm kind of rooting against fans. I'll take any win I can get. But if I get to choose, the rocking chair victory beats the sweat and a half one coin flip any day of the week. We're not fans. We are bettors. There's a difference. So, yeah, enjoy the game. Great. I want a winning bet. I want a winning ticket. What about you, Lawrence? Is that what you look for? Are you a fan at all anymore?
No,
I'm not.
In the moment, I want a rocking chair victory. In hindsight, I want the drama. So it's a little bit, in between. I love the drama, dude. I mean, you know me, man. I'm like all about drama, for Christ's sake. Drama is what I get all excited. But yeah, I mean, when I had my 5% play last night on FAU, it was dramatic, and then it wasn't, and then I felt good, and it was like I was sitting out for dinner. I was actually watching the game on my phone at dinner. My company was not happy with me, and it just like the weight left. So. A bit of both, but I do love drama. What Big Daddy wrote, we learned that UCLA crumbled like a ton of bricks. Yeah, Big Daddy, we did not learn that at all. Sorry, Teddy. This team was down by 10 points with a minute and change to go. They went on 10-1 run in a 41-second span. That is the opposite of crumbling. They then hit a clutch 3-pointer with 14 seconds to go to finally get ahead. And the Gonzaga guy hits like a miracle 3 from midcourt. That's not crumbling like a ton of bricks. But what a freaking game last night. And I needed UCLA. Teddy, let's bring Bryan Power in. And Bryan, you got to follow Ralph Michaels, dude. That is tough.
I know. Hopefully, I can say something right or two here. And if I slip you another 100, Prez, can I give it a couple winners here on the show too? Or that's what I was brought on to do anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Bryan,
Okay.
You listened to the show from start to finish. Anything to add?
I had both Michigan State and UCLA last night. So guess how I think about it. Yeah.
And that Michigan State was quite dramatic. Yeah.
I know, especially because I handicapped it the right way. I thought I said Michigan State is going to bounce back from 3. Look for them to have and they did. But they could not get a stop. It was extremely frustrating down the stretch to watch that.
And Lawrence, for what it's worth, I think our viewer was 100% correct. I thought UCLA did. I know they made a run at the end, but that was after they failed to make a basket for like 11 minutes in the second half of an NCAA tournament game. UCLA choked that game away.
Fair enough of what you said. However, push comes to shove. They found their gonads, and they got themselves into a position to win the game with 14 seconds left. So let's say it's a bit of both. Guys, if you like what you're hearing, please subscribe to our channel. Please hit that like button. I'd like to get to 100 likes. We're only at 56. Bryan Power, let's get straight into this. The Pacers plus 11.5 against the Celtics. How are we betting this game?
Yeah, it's even up to plus 12 pretty much everywhere now at this point. So you didn't get down before. You got a chance, still have a chance to, and we're going to get a better price here. Guys, I think this is a sleepy spot for the Celtics. They return home after a 6-game road trip that ended out west. They're only 6-6 straight up the last 12 games are the Celtics. And during that time, they've lost to the Nets, the Rockets, and the Jazz. Now, I did back Boston Tuesday against Sacramento, but that was a terrible spot for the Kings, as I noted in the analysis. They had just returned home from a lengthy road trip themselves. 5th time they were playing Sacramento in 7 games, not to mention the second night of a back-to-back. I just think laying this many points, guys, is a dicey proposition for the Celtics, who could be disinterested. And Indiana, okay, I know that they've been slumping down the stretch, but earlier I mentioned Boston, just 6-6 their last 12 games. Indiana's 5-5 their last 10 games. They beat Milwaukee, a Milwaukee team that Ralph just told you about in the segment before. They beat Toronto on Wednesday as a 9.5-point underdog. Not much was expected from this team this year, guys. We all know that. But I believe they were the first team in the league to go over their season win total. And believe it or not, they remain in playoff contention. They're only a game and a half back of that last play-in spot in the East. When you go over these recent Pacers results, guys, it certainly looks like they play up or play down to their level of competition. Boston's certainly one of the premier teams in the league. I expect we're going to get a good effort out of Indiana tonight, and I am really hopeful this would be the cherry on top if Tyrese Halliburton could return. He has been listed as questionable on the injury report the last several games, downgraded to out shortly before each of the last 2, but hopefully he can play. They certainly could use him, but we're just going to consider that, like I said, the cherry on top, because the Pacers have played Boston tough, not once, but twice this season, Teddy. Beat them here in Boston back in December, only lost by 5 to them at home last month, a game that went to overtime. So I'm taking the points here with Indiana, a generous number, and what I think is a terrible spot for the Celtics.
So my question for this game is about how we bet it. Halliburton questionable. Do we bet it now with the plus 12s? Do we wait and see what his status is? This line going to go up if he's in or down if he's out? I mean, like, how do you expect the number to move based on Halliburton's status? And would you bet this right now, or would you wait until his status is announced?
I have bet it now at 12. I don't think it's going to go up much more, to be honest with you, even if he is ruled out. It could, and you may want to keep an eye on it. Of course, the best resource is the WagerTalk odds screen. Keep an eye on it. If you see some movement, jump right on it. But I would be very comfortable playing this number right now, and because it will come down, obviously, if Halliburton is announced that he will play.
Bryan Power joining us. Brian, let's get into some madness. Miami at Houston. I'm not even going to set this game up. Both Teddy and I have a hard stop. Go!
Okay, full candor, guys. Miami has been a bogey team for me this season. I have had a couple big losses going against them. The most recent was round 1 of this very NCAA tournament against Drake. Drake looked like they had him dead to rights and then just went ice cold down the stretch. Blows an 8-point lead with 5 minutes left. That was very frustrating. Really, the only frustrating part of the WagerTalk East Coast meet and greet that I attended over the weekend, which was such a good time. Everything else went well, except that Drake-Miami result. And it helped Miami. They were plus 21 in free throw attempts, oh, by the way, in that game. But I don't think Miami, who, yes, everybody who yells at me on Twitter, I know they have good guard play, but I think this is a bad matchup against Houston, who does as good a job defending inside the three-point arc as any team in the country. We're talking number 1 in block rate. Houston, I think, has a tremendous edge on the glass, both offensively and defensively in this matchup. And defending the interior is crucial against Miami, Teddy, because the Hurricanes get 54% of their offense from inside the arc. Houston's going to slow them down. They're 342nd in tempo per Ken Palm. But my issue, and this is why I have been very stubborn about Miami all year, is their defense. They are 109th in efficiency. If you remember, I came on the program last week. I said teams outside the top 100 typically do not do well in this tournament. The other Power 5 teams that were outside the top 100, Mizzou and Iowa, they're already out. I think Miami joins them on the sidelines tonight. I will lay the points with Houston here in what I think is not a favorable matchup for Miami.
So the last time Miami lost a game by more than 6 points was before Thanksgiving. My numbers show Miami as an underdog. They failed to cover exactly once all year as a dog. With 7 covers to go with that one non-cover. And that one non-cover, I believe, came in that game back in November where they got run out by Maryland, again, before Thanksgiving. Does that concern you at all?
Sure, there's a lot that concerns me about Miami. Like I said, they've kind of been my bogey team, but here's how I'll counter that. The ACC, and I think I've mentioned this on the program, it seems about every week, Teddy, that the ACC was down this year. And Miami, I think in terms of the ACC, was undervalued. There was not a single top 25 team in the Ken Pom rankings in that conference going into the conference tournament. Houston, on the other hand, okay, let's talk about where they're at. This is the number 1 team in the country per my power ratings, and Miami is a deserved underdog. If there was ever a time to fade Miami as an underdog, and to be clear, I've faded them generally as a favorite this year. A couple times I have been off when they're a dog, but I think this is the spot where we say goodbye to Miami, and I can finally have a laugh on Twitter.
And that reminds me, Teddy, this is the spot to say goodbye to Bryan Power, and we can finally have a laugh about him. Bryan Power, what do you got to promote?
Okay, guys, I mentioned it was kind of a tough night in the tournament last night, but I'm still number 2 overall in college hoops in March. Very proud of that, obviously. I don't need to tell you guys just how many guys on the site are just doing a tremendous job this month in this tournament and throughout the month. So very proud of that. Got 5 plays for you. I just gave you 2 of them. Indiana and Houston are client plays. I have 3 more, including a college basketball total, guys. I'm very selective with college basketball totals. I've only given out 5 since in the new year, since we turned the calendar to 2023. All 5 of those totals have cashed. We look to make it 6 in a row tonight with another total 4%. And you can get that and 2 NBA plays by going to my page, WagerTalk.com. You know the place.
Awesome stuff, Bryan Powers. Teddy, let's take a quick break. We got time. We'll come back with your big game breakdown, Andy Lang, and perhaps a daily presidential address.
How'd you like to get Ben Burns, Jazz Ray, and Bryan Power for the next 3 days for the price of 1? For 2 decades, Covers.com ranked among the biggest pick-selling websites on the internet. Last July, they stopped selling picks, and at that time, their 3 most popular handicappers were Ben Burns, Bryan Power, and Jazz Ray. With WagerTalk being the industry leader, it was only natural for those 3 esteemed handicappers to go exclusive with us. They all bring extremely impressive resumes to the table. While they're here because of their long-term excellence, all 3 have turned plenty of heads since their arrival. Jazz ranked among the best handicappers on the entire site in 2022. Bryan is our number 1 handicapper in March, and Ben quickly established himself as this season's number 1 big game college hoops handicapper. For the first time ever, you can get all the picks from Ben, Bryan, and Jazz for the price of only one of them. This amazing offer won't last, as you can get 3 days of picks regularly priced at $59 each, which is $177 for all 3, including any 5% best bets normally priced at $35 for only $655 per handicapper. That's right, $59 for all 3 cappers for all 3 days. Take advantage today.
It is time for today's big game breakdown. Let's go to the NBA West Coast style. Talk a little Phoenix Suns and Sacramento Kings. Right now, look at the WagerTalk live odds screen. Sacramento 3/3.5 point favorites. We have seen a little bit of Phoenix money over the course of the last half hour or so. Total sitting at 239 for this one. We've seen Suns money. Not my money, I'll tell you that. Yeah, they're 38 and 34, and yeah, there's a playoff team. But there's not much to like about Phoenix right now. 1-5 straight up, 0-6 against the spread their last 6 ball games. The only win during that span by 3 points at home against Orlando. And that includes a game where they were -3.5 at home against Sacramento. They lost that game by 9, pretty much a wire-to-wire job. They were not the better team. They were not the right side. And the key in that game, Sacramento's pitch killed them. That's an ongoing problem for the Suns since trading for Kevin Durant, so he could sit in street clothes on their bench. Don't have DeAndre Ayton tonight either. They're missing 2 of their 3 best players. Sacramento's off back-to-back losses. First at Utah, denied them a 4-0 trip. Then they faced Boston, who was paying attention in their first game back home, and they got blown out there. Domantas Sabonis, the all-star, after the game, quote, "It's not the outcome we want, but we showed in the first half we can compete. Definitely there's a lot to improve. We have 2 days now to get some rest, watch film, and try to work on these things we struggle with against these top teams." There's urgency for Sacramento right now after those back-to-back losses. This is a team they're confident against. I don't know that Phoenix is confident against anyone. They're whining about the free throw disparity. They've attempted, the last time Phoenix had more free throw attempts than their opponent was February 26th. Okay. They've attempted fewer free throws or the same number of free throws in every single game in March. So it's not new or different. Phoenix isn't getting the calls. They're not being as aggressive as they should to attack the rim. They're not the better of these two teams. Sacramento minus. Look, you can get 3 now instead of 3.5. No argument with 3.5 either. Sacramento minus the points. There's your big game breakdown. Back to you, Mr. Prez.
Teddy covers. Teddy, when we were talking about whether there was drama or no drama in the UCLA, not drama, whether UCLA made a comeback or they choked. Our boy Lost Pablo says, I agree with Teddy. Lost Pablo has now lost all privileges of giving out picks on this show. I don't remember Teddy giving your picks out, Lost. I mean, I handpicked you out of a group of 500 people. You agree with that, schmuck? Andy Lang joining us. Andy, how are you, brother?
I'm doing really good. Teddy, thank you for bringing up the free throws for the Phoenix Suns. I love Monty Williams, but complaining about not getting free throws when you have a game with no Kevin Durant, DeAndre Ayton, you're taking like 32 three-pointers a game was one of the more laughable quotes. I knew you would appreciate it because you always say, read the quote. I was like, oh my, that was like the biggest eye roll ever for Monty Williams. So I'm glad you brought that up, Teddy.
Andy, like normal, we put you at the end of the show because if we're running out of time, you can do everything in 3 minutes. You have a little longer than 3 minutes. We got an MMA parlay that you want to give out. Let's start there.
Yeah, but real quick, hey, Prez or Teddy, did you guys play video games? Like, did you ever play like Mike Tyson Punch Out or like the Street Fighter 2?
Yeah, I played it.
Yeah.
So I played Punch Out once. I never played Street Fighter in my life. I hate video games. So there was never a time in my life where I would waste my precious years sitting in front of a TV or a computer screen playing a game when I could actually go outside and actually play a game. So I am hell no, but I have played that Mike Tyson game maybe once.
Okay.
Sure.
All right.
We all played Street Fighter. We all played Mike Tyson. And Prez is on a day where he knows we have a hard out. He's going to take as much time as you can talking about video games from the 80s and how he felt.
Look at you. You're doing the same. Hello, That's why. Kettle. It's me, Teddy. Lead, hello, Pot. It's me, Teddy. Go ahead.
And all of a sudden we're up against the clock.
I've never played Street Fighter in my life.
Wow. Yes or no questions. Spiraled out of control. All right, so keep that in mind real quick. All right, let's do an MMA parlay. The first fight is very quick. It's Holly Holm versus Yana Santos, and this is in the UFC fight that is Saturday evening. So your first leg is going to be Holly Holm and Yana Santos to go the distance. Holly Holm is a points fighter. She sticks and moves. She'll reach in with a kick and a jab and then move out of the pocket. 5 of her last 6 fights have gone to decision. She's fighting Yana Santos, who does not have any wins by finish in the UFC, a bit similar to Holly Holm. So you're just going to see a lot of jabs and little kicks and moving out of the pocket. Both are very good at winning rounds. It's going to be a fairly boring fight to watch. But for this fight to go the distance is the first leg of the parlay. Now, this next fight is why I asked about playing Street Fighter or Mike Tyson Punch Out.
There was
this next
a reason.
Fight,
okay.
Yes. So there is a fight in the PFL Europe event. This is Saturday. It starts around noon. So the second leg is under PFL, and you're going to look for Dakota Dacheva versus Malin Hermanson. So in those video games, when you would get to the end and you'd have to play the boss and it wasn't fair, the boss would just like kill you in like 30 seconds. That's what this fight is going to look like. This is not fair what they're going to do to this poor Hermanson girl. So Dakota Dacheva is one of PFL's new darlings. She's a vicious fighter. She's fought 7 times. She's knocked out her opponent in 6 of those 7 fights. And PFL wants to get some really nice clips of her beating up some opponents. And normally when you give someone a cupcake opponent, they should at least be able to fight back. And I'm not sure this woman is going to be able to fight back against Dacheva. So take the under 1.5. So Dacheva is the blonde, and Hermanson is the brunette. Hermanson has lost.
We're cheering for the blonde.
Yes. And if you watch the fight, if you want to know who the brunette is, she'll be the one laying face down on the mat.
Sounds like a great place. Whoops.
This is a show. Yeah, this Hermanson, she's lost 3 straight fights. She fights like once a year. She just lost to a woman who's 7-9 in her career. It's a sacrificial lamb. Hey, Hermanson's getting a nice paycheck out of the deal, but make no mistake, this is going to be a steamroller. 1.5 rounds under, take it. If you can find a prop on Dacheva to win by KO, take that one. So Holly Holman Santos in the UFC to go the distance. Dacheva and Hermanson in a complete mauling, take it under 1.5 rounds. So that's the MMA. Okay, let's do a golf play that tees off here.
Teddy has something. Teddy wanted to jump in.
Why do we want to parlay?
Andy Lang.
I don't understand what's the correlation. Why do we parlay those? Why don't we straight bet those two?
You can do whatever you want, but Holly Holman Santos to go the distance is minus 250. So I want to get better value on this. We parlay them and we get a little bit of plus money on them. So the books are telling you that this Holly Holman Yana Santos fight is going to go the distance because it's minus 250. You parlay it with Dacheva under 1.5 rounds, and you get a nice even money or plus money bet. That's why we're parlaying them. Make sense?
Let's talk golf. Okay.
All
right. Let's talk some golf. Let's talk about golf. Jon Rahm.
All right. So Jon Rahm, number 2 player in the world. He's one of the favorites to win this tournament. His last tournament, he withdrew because he had a little bit of a stomach illness. So on Wednesday in round 1, he was a little bit clunky. He lost that round. And then yesterday he comes out and looks like the old Jon Rahm. He absolutely killed his opponent. And today he faces Billy Horschel, who's not nearly on the same level as Jon Rahm. And we look at motivation in these match play. Jon Rahm has to win this head-to-head match against Billy Horschel this afternoon in order to advance. Yesterday, when he crushed Keith Mitchell, Jon Rahm had 5 birdies and an eagle. He does that again, he's going to win by 5 or 6 holes over Billy Horschel. Billy Horschel just doesn't have the length. He doesn't have the short game, and he's had 2 cupcake matchups in his first 2 rounds. Rahm should cruise in this one. This tees off in about an hour. So take Jon Rahm to beat Billy Horschel head-to-head today.
And you like joining us, everyone. Oh, go ahead, Teddy. Go.
Yeah. In the NBA,
2 minutes.
You want to talk about Killian Hayes and his turnover props. He's gone over 2.5 turnovers in each of his last 6 ball games. Tell us why you think he's going over 2.5 turnovers again tonight. And that's an interesting prop. You don't talk about turnovers over under very often.
Why is he going to go over? Because he stinks. Back to you, Teddy. No, so you have to look at some of these teams that tank going down the stretch, and you can find some value in the player prop market. So I talked about this with our friend Moneyline Matt Wallace from Sports Memo. He lives in Detroit. He follows this Pistons team. So what happened is the Detroit Pistons had a bunch of injuries in the backcourt, and Killian Hayes has been inserted into the starting lineup, and he's playing a ton of minutes. So you look on March 11th, that's where he really had to play a lot of minutes because they don't have very many people left. They keep putting this turnover number at 2.5. He's had 3, 4, 4, 5, 5, and 5 turnovers in the game since they put him in the starting lineup. And he gets a brutal matchup against the Toronto Raptors and Fred VanVleet, who's been playing really good defense recently. They force turnovers on the perimeter. I mean, this is a team that forced 3 turnovers from Drew Holiday, an elite point guard. They forced 9 turnovers from the Pacers backcourt in their last game. The Raptors did. So Killian Hayes is just not up to snuff. I think this may be the last day you can get Killian Hayes at 2.5. Because if this hits again, I'm assuming it's going to hit again. They're probably going to bump it to 3.5. So take advantage of maybe one of the last days we get Killian Hayes over 2.5 turnovers. It is a little juicy. I don't care. I'm going to play it.
Excellent stuff. Andy, in 30 seconds or less, what do you have to promote?
Women's college basketball play, we are at plus 96 units. We need to get over 100, so we got a 4% play today, and a 4% play is going to go up for tomorrow. You can grab that. And we got a 5% UFC play that is up on WagerTalk. We're 7-1 in our last 4% and 5% best bets. Number 1 on WagerTalk in UFC profits this year. It's been one of our best sports in 2023. So go grab women's college basketball, go grab UFC. Let's have a great weekend, and thanks for having me on, guys.
There you go, Andy Lang. Johnny Boy writes, I can't tell if Prez would be the best guy to hang out with and have a beer or 3 or the worst. Johnny Boy, you're never going to find out because I'm a recluse. Teddy covers, we're on hard stop. We've already passed that. Dan, cue it up. Let's go. Let's end this show. Guys, real quick, I got 3 bets for you guys. 1 in each sport. I got an NHL, an NBA, and a college basketball play to give out on this video. Before we get into that, come on! Everybody should be buying my plays at WagerTalk. I am freaking rolling. I won my last 2 days. I've won 10 of my last 13 days of betting. I'm on an 8-2 NHL run. I got an NBA, an NHL play. I'm the number 1 NBA expert at WagerTalk this NBA season. I have 2 NBA plays. I'm up double-digit units in college basketball, and I've dominated March Madness. I have 3 college basketball plays. They're all up in one package over at WagerTalk.com. As for your free plays, Memphis and Houston over the total in NBA. Buffalo and New Jersey over the total in NHL, and Creighton and Princeton over the total in college basketball. Teddy, great week. Kick ass this weekend, brother. Sorry we went over a little bit. I love you. Take us home.
That's going to wrap it for the week here on Wager Talk Today. We'll do it again next week. Same time, same channel, 9 a.m. here on the left coast, noon for you back east each and every weekday. Between now and then, you guys know what to do. Have a great weekend. Best of luck with all your wagers.
Did you know that since joining WagerTalk in 2019, Andy Lang has never had a losing calendar year in golf, picking up 82 units for clients and is already up 13 units in 2023, cashing in 8 of 10 tournaments behind an incredible 11.6% ROI. For a limited time, we have slashed his 1-year golf pass from $299 to $199, coming out to just $16.58 per month. Act fast before the price goes back to $299 and bet alongside golf handicapping expert Andy Lang on the greens for the next 12 months.